Lesbian detectives. Unsolved cases. She's still missing. Yeah, they haven't found her yet. Well, let's talk about it.
They say he vanished without a trace. Could it be a psychotic break or a tragic accident? Police don't know where the body went. Unsolved murders, body still missing. That's unheard. Where's the witness? Lesbian detectives, what's going on? City on high alert, this out the norm. He did what, the who? Man, that ain't real, these crimes ain't true. Then come uncover these theories with us. We live right now, tuning in is a must.
Right now. Lesbian detective. Lesbian detective. We about to start the show, so get your popcorn ready, let's go. Pay attention to the message I present to you, the lesbian detectives.
This is Lesbian Detectives. I'm Sierra.
And I'm Elizabeth.
We are here talking about missing and unsolved murders.
We are discussing cases that you have forgotten about or never even heard of.
So sit back, relax, and let's start this podcast. Welcome back, everybody. And guys, it's cold as fudge sickles down here. Let me tell you something. We were prepared for the storm. We were so prepared. But then when it happened, we want all these different items. I'm like, we went to the store 3 times before the winter storm. How are we still asking for things?
And I realized I wanted fajitas.
I wanted coffee.
And wings.
And wings. And guys, let me tell you something. I haven't drunk coffee in so long. Last time I drank it was like back in May of last year. Out of nowhere, I'm like, I want some coffee. Everything was closed, but I see that our 7-Eleven, Taco Bell, and McDonald's was open. So I'm like, babe, let's go get some. She's like, I'm not driving. I said, I'll walk. Like, it's really walking distance from my house. It's like a good 10-minute walk. Got there, guys. McDonald's was closed.
They still took my money, though.
Right. They let us order the food, but nobody was there. Do you know how upset I was? So I went to 7-Eleven. Their coffee was all right, and I just went back home. I was like, ugh, that ruined my whole day. Then we ordered Domino's. You know?
Yeah, but we haven't been to work in I haven't been.
Right.
We haven't left the house in 3 days, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Mm-hmm. Hopefully tomorrow is better, but we will see.
Yeah, I still work. Like, guys, I work from home, so I'm still working. Her and my daughter are having a fantastic time just chilling.
Not really. I cleaned today.
I mean, yeah, you cleaned, but she played the video game too.
But I cleaned.
She cleaned. Get that correct, guys. She cleaned. But yeah, I hope everybody else is doing fantastic out there. I hope you guys have power and food. I hope this storm be over with by today, because I need a break. I need to get out this house. We've been in this house too long. And guys, we've been doing very well. We argued for like 1.5 a day.
One day. That was the adjustment period.
That was adjustment period. But since then, we've been all right. We thought our daughter was going to get tired of us sooner or later, but she was like, you guys can stay here for a minute too. This case right here is another case suggestion. And it's actually by the victim daughter. And I think this is the first one that I really worked closely with a family. I mean, we had one where it was like the sister-in-law, but this is actually the daughter of the victim. So this one right here really touched my heart because some of this stuff you can get online. She lived this. She was there. Even her older sister told this story, was telling the story, what she knew what happened that day that no one listened to her on, or what happened to her mom. So this story right here is powerful, guys, and we need to get this case out there. And when you hear what the police have done to this case, you're going to be like, you're lying. Trust me, she has been fighting with the detectives every freaking day. She like, Sierra, I don't want to call him every day. I'm like, girl, call him every day. Call him every day. And I told her, make them run that DNA. You know I love that line because they have the DNA. They just need to run it.
Wow.
And then my favorite line, let's get into the episode. The desert stretched wide and silent. Its dirt roads disappearing into darkness. By day, it looks peaceful. By night, it hides everything. Somewhere between flickered streetlights and open land, a woman vanished. It was supposed to be an ordinary night, a phone call, a promise to be there soon, a birthday waiting at home. But the minutes stretched, then hours, and the silence that followed was louder than a scream. She had moved through dangerous space before. She knew the roads. She knew how to survive. And yet, on this night, she walked alone after an argument into the dark, carrying nothing but the hope of getting home. She never made it. Months later, she was found miles away, in a place where desert meets comfort, where footsteps vanish and answers don't come easily. There are no witnesses, no weapon, no clear timeline, just questions, and men whose stories never quite aligned. A phone call came before the truth should have been known. Evidence was collected and then lost. Files vanished, memories blur, but her children never stopped asking. This is a story about what happened when a life is dismissed, when truth is buried, and when justice is delayed so long it begins to feel intentional. Because the desert remembers, even when people don't. This is the case of Renata May Bateman. Renata May Bateman was born on January 12, 1964 in Phoenix, Arizona, a city of relentless sun, wide neighborhood, and desert silent scratching just beyond the horizon. From the beginning, her world was shaped by both love and hardship. Moments of warmth intertwined with pain that will follow her long into adulthood. As a child, she had a spark that people remember. She carried a playful curiosity, a joy of simple pleasure that made her feel alive. Her laughter came easily, and when she focused on someone, it made them feel seen. She loved music, the calm patience of fishing, and the steady rhythm of bowling. Behind the warmth, however, were wounds no child should ever carry. She was sexual abuse, early trauma that left deep, lasting scars, shaped how she saw the world, how she loved, and how she struggled. The past lingered quietly, influenced her choice, and narrowed her options as she grew older. As an adult, survival often dictated Renata's path, struggling with addiction, financial instability, and limited support. She eventually turned to sex work, a decision shaped not by desire but by necessity, exposing her in further harm and judgment from a world that hardly ever offered understanding or protection. Even then, Renata was more than the labels placed upon her. She was a woman trying to survive and to hold onto some sense of control in a life that had rarely ever given her. Still, in her heart remained anchored to her children. Renata became a mother at a young age, and motherhood quickly became the center of her world. Over time, she gave birth to 5 daughters, each one a piece of her heart, each one deeply loved. She dreamed of protecting them, of giving them a better life, and one day of reuniting them after they was placed in the foster care. That hope never left her, even when it felt impossible, out of reach. Her daughter later shared small memories that captured Renata's spirit. One day at the zoo, Renata lifted her daughter onto her shoulder for a photo with the giraffe. In a sudden chaotic moment of laughter, one of the giraffe reached out and grabbed her daughter's hair. It was the kind of memory that stayed funny, tender, alive. Renata loved her children deeply, even when life made it hard for her to fully be present. Adulthood brought many challenges. Renata continued to battle addiction and the unresolved trauma of her past while trying to navigate life on the margins. Her parenting was imperfect, shaped by survival rather than stability, but her love never disappeared. Even in absence, her presence left an imprint of her daughter's life. Relationship with men further complex Renata's life. She was unstable and controlling, bringing fear and tension into her world and limiting her ability to break free from the cycle of harm. These relationships often reinforced the weakness she already carried. Yet, through everything, through trauma, addiction, survival work, fraction relationship, and separation, Renata never stopped hoping. She never stopped loving her daughters. Her story is one of struggle, but also of strength. A woman shaped by pain, surviving in the only way available for her, and defined not by judgment, but by the fierce love she cared for her children. January 13, 1993 was supposed to be a day of celebration. It was Renata's 29th birthday. But for her daughters and family, it would become the last time they ever saw her alive. Earlier that day, Renata had called from a payphone, her voice familiar, warm, and hurried. She said she was only 15 minutes away, running late, and kept asking about her birthday gifts her daughters had prepared. Each time her family told her it was a secret. Their laughter, impatient, the normal back and forth of a mother and child. Ordinary moments. Yet that ordinary call became the last connection they would ever have with her. After hanging up, Renata left the streets they knew so well. And what happened after that remains a question that has haunted them for decades. Later that night, the unthinkable came. Tom, a man from her past, called her family. His words cut through the air like ice. Renata was dead, and she had been at a farm. Confusion, disbelief, and fear collide in that instant. A farm? How had she gotten there? Why was she there at all? Those answers were nowhere to be found, lost in the shadows of that night. Her daughter will later recall the weight of that moment. That was the last time I ever heard from her. It was her birthday. She never came home. That day changed everything. The gap she left in our lives can never be filled. That detail that seemed ordinary, the phone call, the gift, the plans to come home, suddenly became fragments of a puzzle with no missing piece. Unanswered questions loomed larger than the last. Who was responsible? How did she end up so far from home? Why was her family left in the dark until that chilling phone call? That night marked the end of Renata's life as her family knew. It was the beginning of a mystery that would soon scratch across decades, leaving behind only questions, grief, and the haunting memory of a mother lost too soon. A month after her birthday and the final call to the family, tragedy struck. On February 13, 1993, the remains of Renata May Bateman were discovered in the desert of North Pima Road in Scottsdale, Arizona. She was just 29 years old. The location of her body was starkly different from the neighborhoods where she worked. Renata had spent her last day in the area of 43rd Avenue in Glendale, a part of Phoenix and Glendale notorious for crime, prostitution, and low-income motel.
Renata's body lay on a vacant parcel of land at the northwest corner of West Dynamite Road and North Pima, half a mile west of Tron North, a wealthy subdivision built around the Tron Country Club. To the north stood Dream City Church, and to the east, foothills and hiking trails stretched into the desert. The contrast was chilling. A woman who had lived and worked among danger and decay now found her death in an area of beauty and serenity, a serene backdrop for a brutal act. Police reported that Renata had suffered blunt force trauma to the head, inflicted by an unidentified object. The exact time of death remained uncertain, though she was last heard from on January 13, 1993. Despite the severity of the crime, few details were released. Scottsdale police did not disclose any suspect names, the possible murder weapon, or clear leads, The geography alone raised questions. The distance where she had worked, roughly 30 miles or a 45-minute drive, suggested someone deliberately moved her. Could her killer have been familiar with the desert terrain? Was there a connection to an affluent country club nearby? The answers remained elusive. Even the family's understanding of Renata's life added layers of complexity. She had faced trauma, struggled with addiction, and worked as a sex worker to survive. But she had also been a devoted mother, a woman who dreamed of reuniting with her daughters. Now, lying in an empty desert, her life had been violently cut short. Her obituary would describe her simply as a homemaker, leaving behind several children, but the truth was far more complicated. Renata was a mother, a survivor, a woman caught between worlds, and her death left a void to her family, a mystery for investigators and questions that will linger for decades. Renata May Bateman's body was found in the desert, but her story of love, struggle, survival, and loss remained unsolved. It was a murder that spanned neighborhoods, social worlds, and decades, leaving unanswered questions that still haunt those who loved her. The murder of Renata May Bateman left her family searching for answers for decades. From the moment her body was found, questions about who could have killed her and why hung heavily over her daughters. 3 people in particular stand out: Warren Taylor, Tom Sorrells, and a police officer who had been in her life. Each had ties to Renata. Each played a role in her final days, and each remained part of the mystery surrounding her death. The truth about Renata May Bateman's final night did not come from police reports or press conferences. It came years later, through memory, from a child who was there. The night in Glendale, Renata was picked up by Warren Taylor, her former partner, and the father of one of her children. He was not alone. Renata's young daughter was in the car with him when he pulled over and told her to get out and bring a woman back to the vehicle. The child assumed it was another prostitute, something she had seen before, but when she returned, the moment shifted. Renata and Warren kissed. Warren then turned to the girl and asked if she knew who the woman was. She didn't. That's when he said, "This is your mom." From there, the 3 of them drove to a Circle K in Glendale near 59th Avenue and Camelback, a location that would later take a haunting significance. After stopping there, they continued on a remote ranch where the night unraveled. At the ranch, Renata and Warren went into a room together. What happened inside remains unknown. After a short while, Renata came back out and sat with her daughter, gently playing with her hair, a quiet, intimate moment that would later feel unbearable to remember. Not long after, Renata and Warren began arguing. The fight escalated, voices were raised, tension filled the room. Renata did something no one could have imagined would be the last decision of her life. She walked away from the ranch alone, on foot, into the night. She was never seen alive again. There was no birthday celebration, no singing, no goodbye. In the days that followed, Warren's behavior shifted in disturbing ways. He became withdrawn, erratic, and paranoid. A few days after the night, he returned to the ranch where Renata's daughter was alone, listening to music. Without explanation, he turned the radio off. When she turned it back on, he shut it off again. She knew something was wrong. When she asked him what was going on, Warren finally spoke. He told her flatly that her mother was dead and that he had found her body and that she would not be coming back. The child didn't ask questions. She barely knew her mother, but the weight of his words would settle in years later. Years later, Warren would tell Renata's daughter something that would haunt her. He said that if he ever died, there was folders about Renata hidden in a cabinet in his house, information she would need to see. He implied that what was inside mattered, that it explained things no one else had ever said out loud. But she never got the chance. When Warren was murdered years later, his house was covered in blood. The scene was so violent, so overwhelming, that she was too afraid to search for the cabinet or the folders he had mentioned. By the time she could have returned, her older sister had thrown everything away. Whatever Warren claimed to have kept, documents, notes, evidence, or something else entirely, was gone forever. Then there was Tom Sorrells. Tom was Renata's boyfriend at the time of her death. He had been with her for a year and allowed her to continue sex work to support their shared drug addictions. It was Tom who called Renata's family, telling them she was dead, before the family had been notified by police, and possibly before the coroner had officially confirmed her death. That call has never been explained. And finally, there is the unnamed police officer, one of Renata's clients, a man with authority and protection in a world where Renata had none. There has never been a public acknowledgement or investigation tying an officer to her murder, but the possibility remains an uncomfortable silence in the case. 3 men, 3 very different kinds of power, in a woman whose life ended in the desert. While the truth may have once sat inside a cabinet, locked away, and now lost. For Renata May Bateman's family, the hardest part wasn't just losing her. It was realizing that the truth might have once existed and then disappeared. When Renata was murdered in early 1993, investigators collected physical evidence from her body and clothing. At the time, forensic technology was limited, but the DNA was still processed and entered into law enforcement systems. It was preserved, cataloged, and logged. Or at least, that's what the family was led to believe. Years passed, decades even, and Renata's case went cold. It wasn't until much later, when one of her daughters began pushing for answers, that a detective finally admitted something that made no sense at all. Renata's physical DNA evidence was reported missing in 2008. Gone. The timing raised immediate questions. The DNA didn't vanish in the 1990s, when record keeping was less precise. It didn't disappear during a chaotic early investigation. It was lost years later, after someone specifically asked about it, after a family member requested that it be checked. According to him, when Renata was first murdered, her DNA profile was entered into a system. While the physical samples could no longer be located, her genetic information still exists digitally, along with mixed DNA recovered from her clothing. That mixed DNA, the DNA of someone else, is still logged. But without the original evidence in hand, the ability to test, retest, and compare using modern forensic methods has been severely limited. For a family searching for answers, that loss feels less like an accident and more like a door quietly closing. What makes it worse is what didn't happen. No public list of suspects was ever released. No murder weapon was identified. No timeline was clearly established. Renata's work as a sex worker became a footnote instead of a line of inquiry. And the distance between where she was last seen and where her body was found, nearly 30 miles apart, was never fully explained. The desert where Renata was left sits uncomfortably close to wealth, hiking trails, and quiet neighborhoods. It is not the place most people expect a body to be discovered. And yet no one has ever publicly questioned about why she was taken there. Then there is the cabinet. The folders Warren claimed to have, the information he said mattered, were never recovered. Whether they held names, dates, suspicions, or something else entirely will never be known. When he died, fear and chaos erased that chance forever. And still, the case remains open. Renata Bateman is not a Jane Doe. Her name is known, her family is known, her story is known, and yet the answers remain just out of reach, trapped in the missing evidence, lost files, and silence. Her daughters continue to ask the same questions investigators never answered. What happened to the DNA? Who was the last person to have seen her alive? Why did someone outside law enforcement tell the family she was dead? And how does evidence disappear 15 years later after a murder? Until those questions are taken seriously, Renata's case is not just unsolved, it is unfinished. Renata May Bateman did not disappear because she was invisible. She became invisible because the system decided she was. Renata was a mother, 5 daughters, a woman who loved bowling, fishing, music, and small moments that made her life feel lighter than it was. She was also a woman struggling with addiction, trauma, poverty, and survival. And because of that, the urgency around her death faded faster than it should have. When her body was found in the desert north of Scottsdale, there was no press conference that demanded answers, no sustained public outrage, no reward poster flooding the streets. Instead, Renata was quietly labeled and quickly forgotten, reduced to a statistic, her life summarized in a few lines that never captured who she really was. But her daughters never forgot her. They grew up carrying pieces of her, memories, questions, and a deep, lingering sense that something wasn't right. They learned years later that evidence had gone missing, that DNA had vanished long after it should have been protected, that key moments were never fully investigated, that men connected to her final night were never publicly held to account. And perhaps, most haunting of all, the answers may have once existed, hidden away in a cabinet, locked inside folders that no one ever got to read. Renata's case matters because it reflects a pattern that repeats over and over again in true crime. When victims are poor, addicted, or involved in sex work, their lives are treated as disposable. Their murders are filed away instead of pursued. Their families are left to do the work law enforcement should have done from the start. But time doesn't erase responsibility. Modern DNA testing exists. Digital records still exist. Witnesses, once dismissed, are still alive. And Renata's name still deserves to be spoken, clearly, accurately, and without shame. This is not just a story about how Renata died. It's a story about how she lived, about what was ignored, about what was lost, and about what still might be found. Because as long as questions remain unanswered, Renata May Bateman's story is not over. And neither is the search for justice.
Before we end this case, Renata's daughter wanted to share a few words about her mother. It's taken me all night and into the morning to figure out what to say, because how do you sum up your mother, especially when she was taken far too soon? My mother loved life in simple, beautiful ways. She loved music, she loved bowling, she loved fishing. There were some of the happiest moments just being present, enjoying what she loved and letting herself feel joy. When she was in a good place, she had a spirit that could light up a room. Like a lot of people, my mom had struggles. That meant she wasn't always able to be there for us girls the way she wanted to be. But I never doubt that she loved us deeply. She loved us the best way she knew how and the best way she could at the time. In her own way, she was still a wonderful mother. Losing her so early in my childhood affected me in ways that are hard to fully put in words. I grew up without that steady mother figure, without the guidance, comfort, and protection that a mother naturally gives. I missed out on so many moments she should have been there for. The milestone, the hard days, the celebration, and the times when you just need your mom. That absence shaped me, and it's something I carry with me throughout my life. My mother had a rough childhood, and I believe that shaped many of her struggles she faced as an adult. But she was more than those struggles. She was a mother, a daughter, a sister. She was someone who mattered, someone who was loved, someone whose life had meaning. I want people to remember her not just for what happened to her, but for who she was and for the love she carried. This is a case of Renata May Bateman. Now let's get into some theories.
Let's get into some theories. Everyone is a suspect until proven guilty. Let's get into some theories. Let's be in detectives. What type of thoughts you thinking? What theories running through your mind? I'm thinking all types of suspicion. Uncover the truth, what we can find. Witness say they saw somebody creeping out the back door. What you think they did it for? That's so crazy, I'm not sure. They found a car, where could she be? Here go another puzzle piece. Researching through your history. It's plenty unsolved mystery. Everyone is a suspect until proven guilty. Let's get into some theories, yeah.
Let's get into some theories. Let's get into some theories. Everyone is a suspect until proven guilty. Let's get into some theories.
Let's begin detectives.
You or me?
Go ahead.
So this case right here, when I was talking to her daughter and I heard the people they may be involved, it was hard to figure out which guy. You have Warren, her baby daddy. That's what we're going to call him, the baby daddy. Then you have the boyfriend. The boyfriend called the family and said, hey, she is dead and she's at this farm. That she died that day. He knew that she was dead, called the family, told the family, and they're like, they didn't believe him. They're like, what do you mean she's dead? Like, we just talked to her. She's okay. Like, you know, and how she at a farm? Why she at a farm? She was 15 minutes away. Like, it made no sense. And then you have the baby daddy, Warren. And when she was telling me the story, I'm like, Warren seemed like the guy because her sister said everything that happened that day. And she never made a mistake. She never said, hey, mess up on her memory. She said, this is what happened. This is what I remember. I was there that day. My dad and our mom was together. He took her to the farm. They got into an argument and she left. And he told me that she passed away. I remember this. She said it for her whole life. This is what I remember. He was unalive. He told the daughter, hey, something happened to me. You want to know about your mom? I have a cabinet with the files in there. We'll explain everything to you. And I asked her, okay, what happened? And she said, he was unalive. It was a brutal way. The person who did it to him, it was bad. And she said, I was too scared to go in there. But when I finally got the courage, my sister threw everything away. She was forget everything. But her sister never knew about the cabinet. She never knew about the files. He didn't tell her.
Mm-hmm.
So Warren, then she said her mom did do a lot of sex work with a lot of cops. At first, I thought it was a cop. Then I'm like, no, it looked more to Warren. He probably unalived her because she said that Warren wanted to get her mom sober, but her mom didn't want to get sober because he did have a drug addiction, but he got sober. He wanted her to stay at the farm with him to get sober, but she didn't want to.
But then how do you explain 2008 when they ask for certain files and then they get destroyed? I don't believe it was Warren.
You don't believe it was him?
I mean, he may have played a part.
Mm-hmm.
I think all three
mm-hmm.
had something to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe that it was more somebody from law enforcement. That's just my theory.
Mm-hmm.
Because why would they go after Warren?
Mm-hmm.
Why would they unalive him? And it seemed like Warren kind of had... It's like he wanted to protect himself.
Mm-hmm.
He felt like he still owed that to his daughter because he was forever connected with this woman. When you have a child with somebody, they're always going to be a part of you.
Mm-hmm.
You're always going to have a part of them.
Mm-hmm.
So even if he participated in the unaliving of her,
mm-hmm.
he always felt like he had to at least give his kids some type of closure.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe the person found out about the quote-unquote closure he left behind, and that's why they came and unalived him.
Well, I do know who actually unalived him.
Who unalived him?
So she actually emailed the guy that unalived Warren, and he said he was tired of Warren abusing his mother. So that's what happened.
Okay.
But the police did kind of cover up that murder a little bit. They really didn't care. So.
Well, yeah, because it sucks that people get judged and labeled, and if you land under a certain category, people don't take you serious. And unfortunately, that was the case for the victim. But also, what takes me is the 2008 files.
Mm-hmm.
When the family was asking for certain DNA, for certain evidence, and then it just disappeared.
Right.
I don't believe that it was the boyfriend because he was also like an addict.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think he only cared about getting his next fix. Maybe they paid him off. And that's the type of person that would just kind of disappear,
Mm-hmm.
right? I think it was the law enforcement people.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want their reputation to get tainted. Maybe she found out something about one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, you know, they saw her as someone who could bring them down.
Mm-hmm.
And they just couldn't take that risk. So it was unaliving her or maybe getting outed.
Yeah, I mean, when I first heard this story for the cops, because she said like the last time she saw her mom brought a cop home, and she was a sex worker. They did the do, so she like that always stayed with me. Like that was the last time I saw her, And I'm like, yes. But then I heard about Tom. For some reason, I feel like Tom knows a lot of more information because the day that she died, you call the family and say, "Hey, she's dead. She at this farm." Like, how did you know that? You get what I'm saying? Like the daughter, she said that Tom wasn't there. It was just her dad, her mom. So how did Tom know that information?
Maybe Tom was pimping her out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like whenever you're with a certain somebody, you're always going to be like, hey, I'm going to go meet up with this person. I'm going to be over here. Maybe that's how he knew because she would let him know who was she going to meet up with, where she was going to meet up with. And then if she didn't arrive in a certain amount of time, he was going to go and look for her. So that's my theory. Like I said, he was an addict and most addicts are just going to try and get their next fix.
Okay, I can see that. I am more for the cop. Like, it's like Warren I was, but like, I feel like he did have information for him to say, hey, something happened to me. Look in that cabinet. That means to me that he had information probably on that cop or whoever, on something that could bring the person who unalive her to justice. Am I like sad that her sister did throw the paperwork away? Yes, but she didn't know. Like she was trying to get her dad stuff out. Like, she said she hated her dad. So somebody like that, But I see the cop because she did work with a lot of cops, and we don't know what happened, what she could have saw. Like, you think about, how I have to visualize it. She could have left the farm, start walking, go do sex work, and a cop probably pick her up. We don't know what conversation might have happened, or they wanted more information because Warren did have power. They probably want to bring him down, but that's another thing. What if the cops want to bring Warren down because he had so much information on the cops? Like she said, he had them in his back pocket. What if they wanted her to bring him down? But she was like, you know what? I don't want to do it. Like, you're not giving enough money. We don't know what could have happened, right? And they probably got mad and unalive her. And you know how some cops feel like, oh, like I have power. Like she's not anybody. And for the evidence to go away, even the detective now said that's kind of weird. Like the new detective said that, like, this is kind of weird that the evidence is missing.
Correct.
And I'm like, Jared, they don't leave, but it's still in the system. So, like, if you still have some of this DNA in the system, why are we not running against nothing?
Exactly. Which brings me to my last point. Why are you not running it? So it's somebody that's in law enforcement, somebody who has power, somebody who doesn't want this to come out. So everybody's basically
suspect, guilty.
I'm saying everybody in this case is pretty much dealt with. You know, like Warren was murdered. Of course, the victim, Renata, was murdered. I haven't heard about Tom.
Tom's still kicking.
And justice has not been served.
I wonder because sometimes cops can go in and pull up a file, like look at stuff. I wonder if like the new detective can go and see who pulled up that file. Like how many times did this person pull up, or who went into that office, like where they keep the DNA at, because keep it in like a little storage unit. Who went in there and tried to look at it? Like they had to sign a piece of paper. Like what day did we realize this was gone?
I'm sure they destroyed that too.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know. Like, this is like, it's hard because if it is a cop, they're gonna cover up
Their tracks.
Their tracks. So
I don't know. That's my theory.
I was on Warren in the beginning, but I mean, if she did walk away and he didn't chase after her, as the daughter say, we don't know. But for him, it's like, how do these guys in her life know that she was unalive before the family knew, before her body was found? That's why I was like, how did y'all know that fast? But if Warren did know that she was unalive and he had pulled, he probably had the information, you know? What if he took the DNA? Like, he said, oh, like the DNA, the file, we'll never know.
What if she told Warren where she was going to be? Like, she left, but she's like, okay, look, like, I can't deal with this. I got to go. I'm going to meet up with so-and-so here. You know, so maybe she notified the boyfriend and she notified Warren, because it seems like Warren and her still had something. Like, he still cared about her. The boyfriend, I mean, he was there for a reason. And, you know, maybe that's why they both found her, or why they both knew about it before it was announced.
Yeah. This is hard. It's hard because we have so much. Like, you have the information, you have the DNA, but it's not getting used properly. Like, it's still in the system. Like, you still have 3 DNA that was on her body in the system. Use it. And then it's like, Warren was in jail, so his DNA have to be in the system. So, like, how are you telling me that they didn't match? Because if she was found that same day and they had sex, you tell me that wasn't in there?
Yeah. I mean,
we don't know. Well, guys, that is our case. It was suggested from the daughter of the victim. So please, guys, let's get her mother case out there. This is the first time it has ever really been on a podcast. She's trying to get her mother case out there. So share this story everywhere. Get that police and detectives to work harder on her case. And you know what? She said she was scared to call every day. I told her to call every day. If y'all know something, y'all make them reopen and make them do their job. Stop eating donuts and drinking coffee. But this is our case. We're on all podcast platforms. YouTube, give us a 5-star rating. Like, comment, and subscribe. This is Lesbian Detectives. Don't forget, everybody's a suspect.
So proven innocent.
Bye. See you next week.
Lesbian detective. Unsolved cases. She's still missing. Yeah, they haven't found her yet. Well, let's talk about it.
They say he vanished without a trace. Could it be a psychotic break? Or a tragic accident? Police don't know where the body went. Unsolved murders, body still missing. That's unheard. Where's the witness? Lesbian detectives, what's going on? City on high alert, this out the norm. He did what, the who? Man, that ain't real, these crimes ain't true. Then come uncover these theories with us. We live right now, tuning in is a must.
Right now, lesbian detective. Lesbian detective. We about to start the show, so get your popcorn ready to go. Pay attention to the message I present to you, lesbian detectives.